Hi, my name's Andy, the Suffolk Audiophile. Welcome to my channel. This is part 7 of my vinyl A to Z, and today we're going to be doing U to V. So without further ado, let's crack on. First record I want to talk about is one that I had in my original collection back in the day, and again this was one that was at the top of my list when I wanted to start recollecting vinyl, and that's Ultravox Vienna. This record is the first one they done with Midure after John Fox left, and it's a great album actually. I sort of lost faith in Ultravox after Vienna. I thought this was a good record to come back with after John Fox left. It was a big gap to fill when John Fox left. Midure done an admirable job of filling that hole, and it's a good album. It is a good album. Obviously the title track Vienna got to number 2 in the UK, was held off the number 1 spot for 4 weeks by Joe Dolce. Less said about that the better, but that's the vinyl. This is an original pressing on the Chrysalis label. There's the back of the cover. These are still quite cheaply available. You can buy these on Discogs. They don't cost much, £15, £20. You can get this for an original pressing. This one's a near mint one. And I think I paid about £20 plus shipping for this. If you buy the repress, you're buying a digital transfer, which is albeit okay, but this is an all analog cut, obviously from the early 80s, 1980. So, you know, you can't really go wrong with this until they bring out an all analog reissue. This is the one to go for. It sounds really, really good. Astrodyne's a brilliant opening track. Sleepwalk, Passing Strangers, there's some really good tracks on here. But yeah, Ultravox Vienna. So while we're on Vienna, or Ultravox rather, we need to talk about John Fox. And at this stage I haven't got any John Fox era albums. It is on my wants list. I would have had 1 or 2 of them in this rundown if I'd had them, but at the moment, at this stage, I haven't got any in my collection, purely because I'm waiting for the right copy at the right price. I want original pressings. I don't want the remasters, although the remasters are on coloured vinyl and they are quite good from what I hear. I really am seeking out first pressings of the John Fox albums. That said, I did buy this, which again was on my list, Live Retro. This is a live EP. This is a great little EP. This is, look at that image of John Fox, absolutely brilliant. This was recorded live at the Rainbow in London, Huddersfield Polytechnic, the Marquee in London. We got two from Huddersfield, 1 from the Marquee and 1 from the Rainbow in London. So you've got The Wild, The Beautiful and The Damned, My Sex, Young Savage and The Man Who Dies Every Day. This has got the original guitarist on it, Stevie Shears. His blistering guitar playing on Young Savage and The Wild, The Beautiful and The Damned, absolutely brilliant. The Wild, The Beautiful and The Damned ranks as one of my top 5 songs of post-punk, new wave sort of thing. It really is up there with your Joy Divisions and your Cures and stuff like that. This is a great little EP. It's sort of holding its price. It runs at 33 RPM. It's not the best sounding record by any stretch of the imagination. It's pretty dull sounding. It's not dynamic at all. It is purely, it wasn't recorded well. It's purely a document of an era, and that is it. it's worth having for the tracks, but if you're into audio clarity, this is not the one for you. You're probably better off buying it on CD, to be honest, because it's probably been remastered for CD, but even then it's not dynamic. I have got some pretty high res wave files of all the tracks, and it doesn't sound much better, to be fair. So, but anyway, it is a good EP. Costs about £15–20 now to get one in near mint VG Plus condition, so it is holding its price. In fact, it's going up a little bit. So right, this is a record that was not in my original collection because this came out after I started buying CDs, and that's the Verve Urban Hymns. Massively into the Verve when they first come out, and for my sins I didn't buy the vinyl pressings of any of their records. I bought them as either CDs or at that time, yeah, CDs, and later on as digital downloads. This is a great album. This is a double album. This album, I think, is a good candidate for a remastering campaign, along with the first two albums, A Storm in Heaven and A Northern Soul. I never owned them, as I said, on vinyl when they first come out. Certainly didn't buy this on vinyl when it first came out, so this is a reissue. Original pressings of this really hold their price. You can't get an original pressing of this for less than £100. It's, you know, not name dropping here, or maybe I am, but I was having a chat online with Nick McCabe, the guitarist from this album. We was talking about vinyl pressings in general and vinyl versus digital, and he confirmed to me that this album was recorded all analog on tape, but some editing was done in Pro Tools. So certain tracks that they felt needed editing, they would fly them over to Pro Tools, do the editing in Pro Tools, and then throw them back on tape. So this is a bit of a hybrid of analog and digital. That being said, I still think it's a brilliant candidate for audiophile treatment. I think it needs it. It's a double album, as you know. The first two albums, Storm in Heaven and Northern Soul, were recorded 100% analog. The first album, Northern Soul, according to Nick, was so heavily compressed before it even got to mastering, that it was the first casualty of loudness wars, and that was even before it got to the mastering stage. But that being said, I mean, he did say that that's the sort of gives that record its character. But anyway, yeah, Urban Hymns, a great album, double album. It's got some cracking songs on this. Drugs Don't Work, obviously Bittersweet Symphony, Lucky Man, Sonnet, Weeping Willow, Come On, you know, Space and Time. It's an absolutely, in my mind, a flawless album, and I can listen to this all day long and not get bored. Absolutely brilliant. The Verve Urban Hymns. Right, so we're on to V, and top of my list for recollecting vinyl was this, the Velvet Underground and Nico. I had this, I had a repress of this in the 80s, and it was a great album. I had an MGM label, blue and gold MGM labelled version of it, which was pretty standard at that time. It was all analog, obviously, back then. This is on the Verve label, I suspect this is a digital transfer. I don't think it's going to be an analogue cut. But it has got the Eric Emerson picture on the back, so they've packaged this like the first pressing, so you've got the Eric Emerson image. Obviously it's got the gatefold, which is absolutely brilliant. The peel off banana, which will stay stuck, not going to peel it off, but it's a great album. It's a landmark album. This was recently remastered by Abbey Road as a half-speed master. I've heard it and it's atrocious. I don't know what they've done with it, but you know, this isn't a very hi-fi record anyway to begin with. Whatever they've done to it at Abbey Road, they ruined it. They ruined it. It's quite well documented on other YouTube channels. I'm not going to waste my time with any more Velvet Underground half-speed masters if that's what they've done with them. I don't know, they seem to be okay with some of these recordings, but when they're remastering them, as I said previously, the Banshees half-speed remaster sounds really good. But for some reason the Velvet Underground, they've missed the boat and I don't know why. But yeah, this is a great album. It's got, you know, a classic, all the classics on it. Sunday Morning, Waiting for the Man, Femme Fatale, Venus in Furs, Run Run Run, All Tomorrow's Parties, Heroin, There She Goes Again, I'll Be a Mirror, The Black Angels Death Song, and European Sun. Yeah, if you're just getting into the Velvet Underground, or you want to get into the Velvet Underground and you've not heard them before, this has got to be your first port of call. These sort of were the first punk band, they were the first new wave band, they were the first garage band, they were the first everything. They were first on everything. You know, a lot of the bands of the 70s, the Velvets went mainly undiscovered until, you know, the mid 70s really, when they had a resurgence of interest due to other bands name checking them. Bowie famously was a massive Velvet Underground fan. But anyway, yeah, Andy Warhol, Velvet Underground and Nico, brilliant record, worth having in your collection. So next we have got a very interesting one actually. White Light, White Heat. Now, this was what I think was obviously the last record done with John Cale. This is a double album version on blue vinyl. This I think was the 40th anniversary or the 45th anniversary, something like that. I bought this from the United States and had it shipped over to the UK. I've not seen it for sale in the UK. This has got the first album, I think is in mono. Is it in mono? Let me see. Let's see. Let's pull the records out and have a quick look, because I can't remember if the record's in mono. Oh no, it's stereo. It is a stereo version. So, but you've got the first. You've got White Light, White Heat on the first record, and on the second one you've got additional material. You've got an alternate take of I Heard Her Call My Name, Guess I'm Falling in Love, Temptation Inside Your Heart, Stephanie Says, Hey Mr. Rain, version 1, Hey Mr. Rain version 2, and Beginning to See the Light, previously unreleased early version. This is a really good record. It's not sort of audiophile quality, but it's certainly better than the half-speed masters from what I gather. Yeah, it's quite easy to get a hold of, but it's quite expensive at this point. But yeah, the Velvet Underground, White Light, White Heat, classic album. It's really worth getting in stereo as well. I mean, they did do it in mono. If you get the gift on in stereo, you listen to the gift, you can pan, but I can't on my stereo, but if you've got a balance between the speakers, you can actually pan it over to one side and just hear John Cale telling the story of the gift. So it's really, really good. Obviously it's got the 15-minute version of Sister Ray, which is an absolute, but no, it's a great album, White Light, White Heat. And then we come up to the last one, and a name check goes out to a friend of mine, Tom, who sold me this, and that's Live 69. I had this back in the 80s, I bought it new when it was, you know, for sale in the early 80s. This is on the Mercury label. Again, this is an all analog cut. This was from the Doug Yule era. This was their final tour that they'd done pretty much with Lou Reed before he left, I believe. This is a double album. This is a really, 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 really good album. This was recorded live at the Matrix. They've actually reissued a lot of the Matrix recordings since. There was a CD box set, I believe, live at the Matrix, released a little while ago, a few years back, I suppose. And it's this recording plus all the other shows, because they've done like a residency at the Matrix of a few nights, and they recorded every night. This is just a snapshot of what was recorded over those nights, but they've actually released all of them, I believe. But yeah, this is a cracking album. It's got some really, really good versions of songs on here. Sweet Jane, I absolutely love the version of Sweet Jane on this. It's a very, very slow arrangement. Waiting for the Man on this is nothing like really the version on the Andy Warhol album. Waiting for the Man on this is like a slow bluesy version. It's really almost got a country tinge to it. Heroin is absolutely brilliant. Obviously Doug Yule played the organ on this version, because obviously John Cale by this time had left, so there's no viola on it, so they replaced the viola parts with organ, which works. It works. Beginning to see the lights. New Age is cracking. You've got a version of New Age on this which is different to the version on Loaded. It's got alternate lyrics. I actually prefer the version on this to the version on Loaded. I prefer the lyrics, and I much prefer Lou Reed singing it than Doug Yule. Doug Yule is a bit Marmite with me. Sometimes I like his voice, sometimes I don't like his voice. But that's it for this week. Next week we've got the last instalment where I do W through to Z. I'm also going to start working on the first of 2 Joy Division videos. The first one's going to be on Unknown Pleasures. I've been working on that over the last week or so. That may be up next week. It depends on scheduling. But needless to say, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Hit like and subscribe, and till next time.